I think the statement was true before puck drop on Friday night, and it was just slightly more true by whatever time the game ended. It was really late, like 11:30. I think this has been a massively disappointing year for Penn State athletics. I think this may be the most disappointing year for Penn State athletics in 10 years plus. And that includes years where they didn't win national titles at all, right? Like I think what was it, a couple years ago they didn't win one because wrestling didn't win one. I think from the way everybody left Hard Rock Stadium to how the football season then just went, to the fact that basketball programs have not been relevant, to what, more or less 4 coaches getting fired, I think, at this point, to all of these other things, for men's hockey having massive expectations, and I think the outdoor game, regardless of the outcome, was amazing, but them losing like was a little bit of like a cherry stinging there. I think Penn State baseball has underachieved for how the season has gone, and I don't know. We talked about basketball. I mean, wrestling, great. Wrestling did what it's supposed to do, but that's not that impressive. I mean, it is, but it isn't. I think this has been maybe one of the most disappointing athletic years all around for performance. Women's volleyball, another team that did not achieve. Soccer. Women's soccer probably didn't achieve what it set out to do this year. I don't know. There are very few positive stories. I have a couple of them, but I don't know that there are, unlike last year when they won all those national titles and Katie has her great story and Tyler Warren and all these other things.
Terry Smith was a great story for a hot minute in the fall.
Sure.
You're over that?
Great.
Oh, you are over that. Oh, wow. So let me ask this. How much of your disappointment level, and I there's a part of me that thinks you're right, although I think the only person that suffers as a result of this is Pat Kraft, who might have performance bonuses for the teams in his contract as a result. How much of this is self-inflicted, if anything? How much of the expectations is self-inflicted because the message is we're going to compete for national championships, that's what we're going to do? Like, I know that's what you're supposed to say, but is any of it, or is it just it's clear that the football team sucked, that was bad and it imploded and that was public and not good? The basketball teams aren't relevant. Baseball's been less good than they were the past couple of years, and they thought they were turning the corner. You got the bad PR with Sue and the Spikes, if you want to pile on to the disappointing.
The leaked audio.
The
naming rights to the field.
But let me go back because I wasn't with you at first, but now okay.
See,
but is a portion of it self-inflicted because it's championships or bust mentality?
I'm trying to think of the politically correct way to answer this.
Because that's what we do here.
I think a lot of it feels very much. It feels like there is pressure on the athletic program from the top, which is the top being Pat Kraft, in a way that we have never experienced in a multitude of fashions. And I think just on things we've heard and how tense it can be to work in the athletic department and how winning is the number one priority and all of these other things, that all isn't always the best approach. And I think a lot of that expectation pressure caused everything that happened this year, or a lot of things that happened this year, football being the flag bearer for that, right? Like, football has that Oregon game. We're going to beat Oregon. This is going to be the moment. We're going to get over this hump. We're gone. We're going to a national championship. And then we basically watch the same game that we watched back in January to Notre Dame again, right? Like, more or less. And I think the way that cracked, and I think even with the hockey situation, of the fact that there was a lot of pressure on this team to a point which they've never experienced before in a different way. And I don't know how you handle that, and the way it all shook out. Like, I don't know how you prepare for that better, what you do. There's that, and there's a lot of
women's team reached the final. Women's team reached the Frozen Four. You hosted a cool event.
So that's let me save that for a second. Let's
okay.
I think there's all this bravado of beating on our chest that we've raised all this money and we have all these great facilities and all these other things, and it just feels like if this is what we're investing in, there should be results tied to that, and it doesn't feel like there are results tied to that. And then in other areas, we're just not investing at all. Basketball feeling like one of them. So I think that is why. Now, I did say and I did promise there are bright spots, and I think the brightest spot is Tessa Janicki, and I think it's the women's team, the women's hockey team. I think that's my leader in the clubhouse for Penn State Sports Person of the Year. I think Terry's probably number 2. I do think Terry's staying and showing love at a time for a me culture of self, and him showing love for Penn State and embracing that and going through the process of taking the interview and but not getting hired, but still wanting to stay on because he wants to grow Penn State. I think that was great. But I think the women's team, at least reaching the Frozen Four, and particularly just Tessa Janicki and the way she played and the way she handled it and how she probably should have got more attention. I think she to me is the brightest star of it all. I really, and it feels like there's not much else. I don't know what else would I be missing.
Does it? No, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's disappointing. When you first said, I would talk about the disappointment of the year. I'm like, really? I mean, you got a national championship in wrestling. You got Frozen Four with the women. You had an outdoor game for hockey, but your flag bearer sports, football and the basketballs and volleyball and women's soccer, like the sports that nationally ring true, like even softball, right? It's just not there yet. Those programs
they're doing okay this year.
But I'm saying they're not there yet on the national level.
Right.
Those programs that an athletic program is judged by its bellwether sports, though those struggled. But it's I'm asking, is it largely disappointing, or is it dumpster fire disappointing? It's not dumpster fire disappointing, is it?
It's not dumpster fire. No, okay, we're not there yet. It would take 2 years of this, I think, for me to get to that point.
And then there'd have to be less giving. I mean, I think dumpster fire bad would be like if there was some indication that they weren't giving and raising money and keeping the stadium project going along or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that, but I think the attitude towards the fan feels like a problem in this, right? Like getting for example, like it's dumb and naive, but it's getting something as simple as the parking passes sent in a FedEx envelope, nothing else in it. How hard would it be to throw in the old magnet schedule like they used to do? Or the prices going up in the stadium with the food, or all of those things as they compound. And I think especially as the stadium, this next wave gets done and then the renovation is complete in 2027, like if costs go up for the average fan and like all of these other things, I think if it all compounds with another year of meh performance, because I think that's the technical term of what this was.
Okay, so this is meh. Okay. But football diehards are now thrilled with Matt Campbell. He reached out to the Letterman this past weekend. It was a great event. Happy, joy. I mean,
I don't disagree with that. But go ahead.
Well, I don't know if that's what I'm perceiving, but I'm also, that feels like it's always the percent. Like nobody was tired of James Franklin doing what he did until they got tired of it. Like Susan has this pair of shoes that she says is comfortable until they're not, right? And it felt like James Franklin had 6 or 8 years of comfortable until it wasn't. And he did that stuff, right? I mean, he did the Letterman, he did this stuff. I mean, everybody now looks back and says it was calculated and it was whatever else. And meanwhile, Matt Campbell has this all shucks, down to earth mentality or down to low key mentality that people are leaning into that everybody's kind of differentiating, but it still feels like the same playbook being executed by somebody that just is different, that they're getting grace for, which is interesting to me. So what would salvage it? That was a ramble by me. Let me go back to your question. What would, if the men's lacrosse team makes a run to the championship weekend?
Lacrosse would be good. I think lacrosse winning a national championship would be something very tangible towards them salvaging the season. Okay. I think that's a semi-flag bearing sport in some way.
What about blue-white weekend? What about a really good fan-focused, I know I'm saying something that's not going to happen. I mean, because you're making the face.
You already answered it.
Blue-white weekend, like this access the program, do some tours, do some things that are free that they've never done before. I don't know what those are, but they've got a whole staff of people who can think that up, some of which may still be listening at this point of this week. Like, could something like that change? Because there are tangible things that you're frustrated with in your disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
But there are some feel-good customer service things that we're missing too, it sounds like. So is that something that they could pretty up in the next month and a half and make people feel better that are in the same boat as you, or not?
I think the Campbell thing itself, of just getting to see Matt Campbell, like, I think that'll take care of the job. I don't think.
Okay.
I think people also recognize that the stadium's going to be a borderline disaster, or not disaster, but a mess, a hot mess, as it was last year for Blue White, because it's undergoing the renovation. So I don't know that there's something like that. I think above all, just having that would be good. I mean, I do think one thing you did say, like, I think the Matt Campbell thing is a good example of, like, how this could have gone a lot worse, right? Like, if the Kalani Sitake thing happens or doesn't happen, and then Campbell ends up with, or Kraft ends up with Matt Patricia as the head coach, like, that whole process. I think, to me, though, I think the newness of Matt Campbell helps. I also believe, just based on that introductory press conference and the way he talked in last Monday now, about just how the experience in the first couple weeks and months now, I think he genuinely just loves that he has access to, like, the archive of Penn State football. And I think that is genuine and sincere, because I think he's just such a football person that I struggle, and I think I struggle with him controlling the program the way James Franklin controlled the program, one. But two, I don't think we're seeing that, just based on the content that Penn State is putting out on its social media channels, for example, and things like that.
Yeah, and I believe, my guess is, I don't know, well, maybe it's both, that this job is better than Matt Campbell thought it was in some ways. I mean, again, it's been 40 years without a national championship, and I have pointed that out here before and written before. But there's a lot here, from the size of the stadium, the loyalty of the fan base, the way that people want to connect. And I always chafe a little bit, having been to the South and talked to people from other schools, about when Penn Staters say, "Oh, there's no place like ours." Everybody thinks that about their place. But Matt Campbell hasn't been in a place like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, and no matter what the people say, in Iowa State, they are in the SEC, so it's totally different, obviously. So there's that, right? Like, there is, even though you say your school is, I think, coming here is different, I think he's probably finding resources and support that maybe he didn't know that existed, even though he did his due diligence, hopefully, when getting hired. And I'm sure we helped Pat Kraft make sure he got hired after forgot about the coaching search thing that would add to your disappointment kind of stuff. So, okay. The women's basketball coach, I think, is a good thing. Like, I think that was a home run. I think already seeing the roster moves and the expectations, it's clearly going to be her team, and I think her team is a good thing. Well, and I think when it starts winning,
I think what was frustrating about the process of how they landed on Matt Campbell is what made the Tanisha Wright process so enjoyable. For so long, Tanisha Wright has been the obvious hire, and I think it was John Sauber maybe who wrote this, of, like, she wanted the job back when it came open after Coquise, but just didn't have the resume, like enough years of experience to be ready for that situation. And I think that was an easy, obvious win. And the Campbell thing could have been an easy, obvious win had they figured that out a little bit more smoothly and a little bit more obviously. And maybe the story about the whole phone number and having the wrong agent and all of that thing didn't get out, right? But that's what made that process so burdensome, that the Tanisha Wright situation of we had heard that the hire had been in place pretty much by the time the Keeger press release went out. Like, I think that made life a little bit better. I think that was a good way of handling it.
And that's the way it should. I mean, if you're organized, that's ideally the way you'd like it to happen, right? So,
right. Yeah. Okay. What do you you are less fan than I am, but do you at least understand disappointing?
Oh no, I can get it. Like when you texted me first, I'm like, oh man, I have to get him out of talk some therapy out of his tree. This is horrible. But then you start thinking through it. Yeah, but I do think some of it's what I asked before, is it self-inflicted? Some of it is. It's still from the athletic department side. People still came to football games. Nobody goes to basketball games, so there's no revenue there. But there's still, my sense would be they're still probably hitting some financial goals and attention goals and things like that. So maybe to them it doesn't quite feel as disappointing. But at the same time, even Stanford, right, in the Big Ten, in the Big Pac-12, Pac-10, 12 days, when it was winning Learfield Cups and championships and whatever else with all of its sports, and it was winning championships in like water polo or something else that helped it get rankings points. Penn State's 4 national championships that the media did not make up. No, we didn't make up. The athletic director said 4 national championships this year. They were going to be always in tough sports to win national championships. So there's that. I think aspirational is good. I think saying stuff to get to it is good. But I think some of that disappointment gets set up by really high expectations. And then the others be, well, why don't you want a high expectations? Aspire. Okay, yeah. Then the downside of that is you're sitting here end of March, early April with one national championship that you almost would have had to have something horrific happen to not have happened. And people are disappointed.
And I think that is my gripe with not gripe. I don't know if it's a gripe is the right word, but that is my feeling about the couple, because I said something like that and a couple people pointed out, well, what about wrestling in their national championship? They spend the most money of any wrestling program. Of course, they're supposed to win a national championship. That's what they're supposed to do for a host of reasons. And I think, to your point, the 4 thing, I wonder, maybe you and I feel like, I've said at times I feel like you and I are the only ones that talk about that or have inflated that, but I wonder, had that cat not gotten out of the bag in some ways, or he hadn't done that interview with LeVar, are we? I think the expectations wouldn't be as aggressive or disappointing. Missed.
And this goes to your previous discussions about the AD, and probably my wanting to place him over here in an administrator role as opposed to chief cheerleader role, right? I think if those two don't cross, the expectations are different.
No.
And I think an athletic director can be as supportive as his program and fight for his people and do whatever else, and doesn't have to be front and center and then say, well, wait, I don't want to be front and center. Well, but that's just not how it's been playing out. So